America's national parks are supposed to be safe, but since the early 2000s, something has been going wrong inside them. People vanish in ways that make no sense. Hikers, families, children, gone without a trace. Police investigate. Federal agencies get involved, and still no clear answers. Families wait, desperate. Dogs track scents that suddenly stop. Helicopters, drones, and search teams comb miles of wilderness and come back empty. If you've ever been inside a national park, you know how vast it is, how quiet, how easy it is to feel small. Now imagine being lost there, well, not for hours, but for years. Prepare yourself, because tonight's video is unsettling. Lock your doors, put on your headphones, because after this video, you'll never see America's national parks the same way again. The Last Winter Walk of James Puit. James Puit was 70 years old when he stepped out of his vehicle at the Glacier Gorge parking area, deep inside Rocky Mountain National Park. It was winter, not the quiet, postcard kind, but the kind that strips the mountains down to bone. Snow packed the ground. Wind moved through the valley in long, hollow breaths. Temperatures dropped fast once the sun disappeared behind the peaks. Puit was an experienced day hiker. According to his family, he had no intention of staying overnight. No backcountry camping permit had been issued in his name. No supplies suggested a multi-day trip. He wore a dark blue jacket, blue jeans, and a red-orange knit cap, a small flash of color against an otherwise colorless landscape. Slung over his shoulder was a small bag, carrying a Nikon Coolpix 900 camera. That detail would linger, because cameras imply intention. They imply stopping, observing, recording. On February 28th, he left the parking area and headed into the trail system surrounding Glacier Gorge. Where he planned to go is unknown. There was no note, no itinerary, no message sent after that moment. Days passed. On March 3rd, park rangers located Puit's vehicle still parked where he had left it. It had remained there overnight. And the night after that, the car told a silent story. He had not returned, and he had not driven anywhere else. Rangers contacted his family. They confirmed what the evidence already suggested. James Puit was not supposed to be missing. He was expected home. The last time anyone had heard from him was the day he entered the park. Search operations began immediately. Crews moved through snow-choked trails, scanning tree lines, ravines, frozen streams. Winter conditions in Rocky Mountain National Park are unforgiving. Snow can erase footprints in minutes. Wind reshapes terrain overnight. Sounds carry strangely, or not at all, or not at. Despite extensive efforts, no trace of Puit was found. No clothing, no equipment, no camera, not even a confirmed footprint leading away from the trail system. As days turned into weeks, the weather worsened. By March 11th, the search was scaled back, not because hope was gone, but because conditions made continued operations dangerous. The mountains were no longer just silent, they were hostile. Additional searches were conducted during the summer and fall of 2019. With snow gone, visibility improved. Areas once inaccessible were carefully examined, yet once again, nothing surfaced. No remains, no personal items, no answers. What unsettles investigators is not just the disappearance, but the absence of deviation. In many missing hiker cases, there is at least a mistake, a wrong turn, a broken trail, a clear point where something went wrong. With James Puit, there is no such moment. He did not signal distress. He did not leave a visible trail off path. He did not attempt to camp. He did not return. And somewhere in that landscape, if it still exists at all, is a camera that may have captured the last images he ever saw. Rocky Mountain National Park has a long history of sudden weather shifts, steep drop-offs concealed by snow, and terrain that can disorient even seasoned hikers. But it also has something else, a reputation among rangers for swallowing people quietly, without spectacle, without witnesses. James Puit entered the park on a winter morning, expecting a walk. The mountains never gave him back, and in places where the snow erases every path, sometimes the only thing left behind is the question of where the trail truly ended. The silence at Moran Point. The Grand Canyon does not announce danger. It invites you with light. On September 17, 2017, Jonghyun Won vanished inside one of the most visited national parks in the United States, a place photographed millions of times, mapped in obsessive detail, and still capable of erasing a person completely. One was 45 years old, an Asian male, approximately 1 meter 70 centimeters tall, weighing around 55 kilograms, with brown eyes and black hair. He lived in Los Angeles, California, and on that September day, he arrived at the south rim of the Grand Canyon alone. No travel companions, no known plans, no confirmed itinerary. Sometime that day, his white Toyota Camry was discovered parked at Moran Point, a scenic overlook where the canyon opens wide and quiet, the kind of place where people stop, stare, and lower their voices without knowing why. What immediately troubled investigators was that the same vehicle had been seen earlier near the New Hants trailhead. That detail mattered. New Hants is not a casual hike. It is steep, exposed, poorly maintained, and known among experienced hikers as one of the most punishing descents into the canyon. It drops fast, it gives little shade, and once you commit, turning back is never as simple as it sounds, yet there is no record that Jonghyun-won intended to hike it. No permit, no note, no message to friends or family outlining a plan. Just a car moved from one point to another and then left behind. Search efforts began, focused on the areas surrounding Moran Point and the New Hants Trail corridor. Rangers scanned rim edges, switchbacks, drainage paths, and sections of terrain where a misstep could mean a fall that never stops echoing. The Grand Canyon is deceptive that way. From above, it looks still. From inside, it rearranges distance, sound, and time. No witnesses came forward. No confirmed sightings placed one on a trail. No personal belongings were recovered. No backpack, no clothing, no indication of where he went after leaving his vehicle, and that absence is what lingers, because people usually leave something behind. A footprint in dust, a discarded bottle, a trail register entry. In this case, there was nothing. The canyon absorbs sound quickly. Wind pushes upward through its corridors, bending noise into directions the ear can't follow. A shout does not travel where you expect it to. A fall does not always announce itself, and if someone steps beyond a railing or wanders toward an unmarked edge, there may be no evidence left on the rim at all. Jonghyun-won's current whereabouts remain unknown. No remains have been found. No definitive explanation has been confirmed. No final moment has been documented. Just a vehicle parked at a viewpoint, and the implication that, at some point, he stood where countless others have stood, looking out into something vast enough to erase intention itself. The Grand Canyon does not chase people. It does not reach out. It simply waits. And when someone disappears without sound, without witnesses, without a trail to follow, the canyon keeps the silence and never explains what it took. The backpack that came back without him. Peter Jackson was not someone people expected to lose. He was 74 years old, yes, but in excellent physical condition, strong, experienced, a lifelong outdoorsman who understood terrain, weather, and the quiet rules of the wilderness. He stood approximately 1 meter 78 centimeters tall, weighed around 70 kilograms, with blue eyes and gray hair that matched the beard he wore neatly trimmed. When he walked into Yosemite, he carried a royal blue outdoor products backpack, practical, visible, familiar. On September 17, 2016, Jackson sent a text message to his son. He said he was on his way to the park. That message would become the last confirmed communication he ever sent. Jackson was staying at White Wolf Campground, a quieter area of Yosemite, known for its access to long-day hikes and remote trail systems. His campsite fees were paid through September 21st, suggesting he intended to remain in the park for several days. His vehicle was found exactly where it should have been, parked, undisturbed, waiting. Investigators believe he left the campground for a day hike. Where he planned to go remains unknown. No itinerary was left behind. No trail register entry confirmed his route. No witness recalled seeing him return. When Jackson did not come back, search operations began. Rangers and volunteers combed trails radiating outward from White Wolf. Helicopters scanned tree cover. Searchers moved through meadows, ridgelines, creek beds, places where a strong hiker might wander if drawn by curiosity rather than necessity. But Yosemite is vast in a way that resists intention. Distances stretch, sounds collapse, trails fracture into animal paths and unmarked openings that look harmless until they aren't. As days turned into weeks, the search yielded nothing. No clothing, no gear, no sign of injury or misstep. On October 2, 2016, The search was transitioned into a continuous but limited operation, the quiet acknowledgement that the wilderness was no longer giving anything back. Then, nearly 3 years later, something changed. In August of 2019, Peter Jackson's backpack was found. It lay in the area of Ackerson Meadow and Aspen Valley on the western side of Yosemite National Park, far from where he was last known to be hiking. The royal blue pack was unmistakable, identified, confirmed. But it was alone. No remains were discovered nearby, no additional personal items, no explanation for how it traveled or why it stopped there. Backpacks do not walk. They do not migrate. They do not choose meadows. The discovery raised questions that refused to settle. If Jackson had been injured, why was there no trace around the bag? If he had traveled that far, how did he do so without leaving signs along the way? And if something else moved the pack, why leave it intact, visible, and separated from everything else? Yosemite has a way of rearranging certainty. Granite walls block radio signals. Forests swallow sound. Weather shifts without warning. And even experienced hikers can find themselves disoriented not by fear, but by familiarity that slowly turns unreliable. Peter Jackson entered the park prepared. He paid his campsite. He sent a message home. He carried what he needed. Years later, the only thing that returned was what he carried on his back. And when the wilderness gives something back without explanation, it isn't closure. It's a reminder that some trails don't end where we think they do. The man the heat took first. In the western reaches of the Grand Canyon, there are places where rescue does not arrive quickly, and sometimes not at all. On June 17, 2016, Floyd E. Roberts III disappeared in one of those places. Roberts was 52 years old, a white male, approximately 1 meter 80 centimeters tall, weighing around 77 kilograms, with brown eyes and brown-gray hair. He was last seen wearing a long-sleeved red shirt, blue jeans, multicolored mesh Nike Free running shoes, white-framed sunglasses with orange lenses, and carrying a large blue low alpine contour backpack, along with a smaller pack. He was not alone when the hike began. Roberts was part of a group attempting a demanding 9-day trek through a remote section of the Grand Canyon's western region, crossing the Shivwitz Plateau. Their planned exit route would take them out of the canyon through Separation Canyon, a name that would later feel uncomfortably literal. Conditions were already dangerous. Temperatures were extreme, even by Grand Canyon standards. The heat pressed down relentlessly, draining water faster than anticipated and turning distance into something elastic, longer, heavier, harder to judge. At some point during the trek, Roberts became separated from his companions. This is where the situation shifted from difficult to critical. He was last seen near Kelly Tank, a known water collection area in the region. From there, he was moving toward Trail Canyon and Mile 214 Canyon, near the Shanley Spring area, heading in the general direction of the Colorado River. However, investigators later acknowledged that he may have descended instead into Mile 209 Canyon, a deviation that would place him deeper into rugged, less forgiving terrain. In the Grand Canyon, a single wrong drainage can change everything. Search operations began swiftly. Ground teams, air support, and technical specialists worked through punishing heat and complex topography. The Western Canyon is not tourist territory. It is isolated, vast, and cut by side canyons that hide movement and erase sound. For 6 days, crews searched. They followed potential routes, they checked water sources. They scanned canyon floors and cliff edges, where a misstep could be fatal. No sign of Floyd Roberts was found, no backpack, no clothing, no equipment, no definitive trail of movement beyond his last confirmed location. Eventually, the search was reduced to a continuous but limited operation, not because the danger had passed, but because the environment itself had become an adversary. Heat does not announce when it wins. It dulls judgment. It slows decision-making. It convinces people they can go just a little farther until they can't. What makes Roberts' disappearance especially unsettling is the experience involved. This was not an impulsive day hike. It was a planned expedition. Gear was carried. Routes were discussed. The risks were understood, at least on paper. And yet, somewhere between Kelly Tank and the river, something went irreversibly wrong. The Grand Canyon does not need cliffs to kill. Sometimes, all it needs is time, point, and temperature. Floyd E. Roberts III has never been found. The search technically continues, The canyon remains unchanged, and the heat still settles into those side canyons every summer, silent, patient, and indifferent. Because in the Grand Canyon, falling is not the only way to disappear. Sometimes, the land simply waits until the body can't keep up. The boy who never left the rim. Crater Lake is not a place that feels unfinished. It is calm, still, geometrically perfect. A lake formed by collapse, filled slowly over centuries, holding a depth so dark it reflects the sky like polished glass. People come here to look outward, not to imagine someone vanishing without sound. But on the afternoon of October 14th, 2006, 8-year-old Samuel Burilka disappeared inside the park. Samuel was small for the landscape around him. 1 meter 42 centimeters tall, 38 kilograms, light brown hair, brown eyes. He wore a black and green striped long-sleeve shirt, cargo pants, red suede shoes, and a blue winter coat. Clothing meant to stand out against stone and snow. He had a mole beneath his right ear and another on the left side of his throat. Details that matter when a child goes missing, because children are not supposed to vanish quietly. Samuel was last seen around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was late in the day. Autumn had already tightened its grip on Crater Lake. Temperatures dropped fast near the rim, and shadows stretched long across volcanic rock. What happened in the minutes after he was last seen is unknown. There was no confirmed fall, no scream reported, no witness who could point to a direction and say, "He went that way." Search efforts began quickly. Rangers, volunteers, and search teams combed trails, wooded areas, and sections of the caldera rim where visibility drops suddenly and the ground gives way without warning. Dogs were brought in. Helicopters scanned the terrain from above. But Crater Lake keeps its secrets close. The forest surrounding the lake is dense, layered, and disorienting, especially for a child. Sound behaves strangely there. Wind moves through trees in uneven bursts, and once daylight fades, temperature and fear rise together. Despite extensive efforts, no trace of Samuel Burilka was found. No clothing, no footprints leading away, no indication that he left the park boundaries. His case was later listed with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, a quiet confirmation that the mystery had moved beyond search and into waiting. What troubles investigators most is scale. Crater Lake National Park is not infinite. It is rugged, yes, but defined. And yet, an 8-year-old boy disappeared within it without leaving evidence behind. Children tend to drop things. They leave disturbed ground. They call out. In this case, there was nothing. Ace. No conclusion has ever been reached. No remains recovered. No final explanation accepted. Crater Lake still looks the same today. Blue, silent, impossibly calm. Visitors lean over the rim. They take photographs. They talk in hushed voices. And somewhere between the trees and the stone, the question remains suspended in the cold air. How does a child disappear in a place that never moves? Some landscapes are shaped by collapse. Others are defined by what they refuse to give back. And sometimes, the stillest places hold the loudest unanswered silence. 5 people, 5 disappearances, and not a single clear answer. No final message, no final location, just silence, stretched across miles of protected land. If these places can lose people this completely, what else might they be hiding? If one of these cases stayed with you, leave a like. Tell us in the comments which disappearance disturbed you the most and which park we should investigate next. Because some places aren't forgotten. They're waiting.